And welcome back to the first segment of our show. As promised, we have been joined on set by the Vice President of the Cycling Federation of Belize, none other than Orson Butler. Good morning, sir.
Morning, and thanks for having me on the show.
We're discussing the cross-country cycling classic that comes up on Saturday. And I'm assuming, well, I shouldn't even have to assume, Belizeans are anxiously anticipating the start of the race on Saturday morning and the end of the race sometime thereafter. What can we expect?
The race starts at 5:50 from the BTL Park, head down towards the Barrack Road, right onto Freetown Road, left at the Central American roundabout from Freetown Road, over Central American, down Central American Boulevard, right onto George Price Highway. We have a flying start at Lester's Import. The race travel through the length and breadth of the George Price Highway. However, when the race enter Santa Elena, they have construction that has been going on, but we have spoken to the contractor and the road will be clear so that we can go across to San Ignacio and back out. However, at that point, at Lomalus Boulevard, the police, we already work out all the details of the police. All service vehicles will not be allowed to pass the Lomalus Boulevard. No? Only the chief commissioner vehicle and one neutral vehicle will be allowed in that area. Residents will not be allowed to park in that area either. They must stand on the sidewalk, on the sidewalk, and then towards the back to view the race. No? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I mean, one of the things that I want to ask from outside, because I agree with Izani, this is more important than Christmas photography.
Yeah,
this is
right.
Definitely, I mean, people who don't even care about sports, it's about patriotism. And I don't care what nobody says about fairness and about us not having a first Belizean, which I'm sure that Izani will talk about a little bit later in this segment. Belizeans want a Belizean to win.
Yeah.
Talk to us about who, I know you're speaking from a federation standpoint, but I'm asking you to take off that hat a little and talk to us about who Belizeans can look at to have hope in.
At the federation standpoint, I wouldn't want to go from my perspective. From the federation standpoint, the work is to prepare all our athletes. Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, I have a team. We have a team that we have chosen to represent the country in Australia. This team comprises of 3 guys plus 2 alternate. Mm-hmm. I believe that any one of these guys can win the event.
The names are?
The names are Giovanni Lovell from the Digicel 4G team, Nissan Arana from West Track Alliance, Oscar Quiros from Smart Serie Western Spirit. 4th place is Liam Stewart, he's riding unattached. And 5th place is Joel Boland from the Digicel 4G team. Nice. The team has a makeup of different varieties of local team here in Belize. But any one of these guys locally, I think has the ability to take home the Garland this year. Nice. Okay.
In terms of the preparation for Saturday, from the federation's perspective, what all has gone into motion in terms of getting the riders ready for the race? In terms of, let's say, for instance, have there been registrations? How many riders can we look forward to participating this year?
Right now, as it is, we have 113 riders pre-listed for the event. Of that list, 20 of them is comprised of foreigners and border town athletes. So locally, I would say we have about 80 to 85 Belizean riders participating in this event.
Talk to me about the screening process, because again, I'm going back to my team that I want a Belizean to have a fair shot at it. I don't want any closeted professional to come here and then we hear this guy gone off and goes home, bathed, comes back, and the main package just coming in. Talk to us about the screening process for these border town athletes and these non-nationals.
Well, the border town athletes for us is just like our athletes. It's the guys that are from Guatemala side, it's up to Petén, and from Mexico side is all the guys from Cancun down. For their levels are all similar to our level. However, when you look at the selection from the Guatemala and the 3 guys we have from Mexico, and also the North American crowd with the Quisarqui crowd, it's a simulation to athletes that we meet in the Central American Games or Caribbean Championships. These events, these are the type of riders you will meet. So what we have done is that that's a classification we go at when we're looking at the international riders. You cannot have athletes that are from a pro-continental team, because these are guys above our level. These are guys that will walk away with pro-continental team.
What does that mean?
It's a UCI pro-continental team. These are guys basically full-time cyclists, paid, and it has a certain budget for them to even class themselves as a pro-continental. You have guys almost at that level, but they're not on that roster.
Okay.
For example, you have the pro-continental, say you would say the guys them little behind the guys them that rides Tour de France. These are like that category.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. In terms of the exercises that take place thereafter, specifically the testing for doping and what have you, how does that work, considering the fact that, for instance, in this case, you have 113 riders listed.
Yeah.
Out of those many athletes, you have a top 10.
Yes, that's right.
How do you guys go about doing the testing process once you have identified your winners and the first 10 riders to come in?
Well, in relation to the doping, this is done by NADO. This is a separate entity from the federation. NADO, National Anti-Doping Organization, right? The body is solely responsible for anti-doping. It's like a sister company of WADA, the Worldwide Anti-Doping Organization. What they have done is that in order for fair competition, everybody has to be competing on the same level. In wise, what do you call it?
You can't use any
You
kind
can't
of
use no performance
enhancement.
enhancement drug, right? And what they have done is that they also tune in to the race on hand. In this cross country, we have 5 tests. It's a top 3 plus 2 random, right? The random normally is sometimes it's selected based on performance on the road, and also pull from the hat. You put different numbers in the hat, and then you pick out whichever one you want as random. But it's automatic for the top 3 being tested.
I was asking that primarily because I would want to think that a couple of years ago, there was a bit of a controversy in terms of the delay for prizes to be distributed based on the results of the doping tests.
See, that's it. The federation cannot, whenever you have these international riders and you have anti-doping, the federation cannot really pay out the prize until anti-doping is back. However, it's a 90 days limit. If, for instance, you send your sample away and it came back and it says they have to do additional tests, the allocation has to be met for them to continue further testing. And that sometimes take the time limit to that 90 days or a little bit past. But the federation will not pay until it receives the letter from NADO stating that everything is all clear. Because if everything is not all clear, we automatically go to the athletes after. Like say, example, the first one test positive, automatically second place take first place. And all the prizes, the station prizes that first man win throughout the race, everything is diverted to the rider that actually was second on the road. In this manner, when we do our station prizes on the road, we not only take the winner, we take 1, 2 for the same reason. That anybody come and test positive, the next man that passes that line automatically gets a prize.
I'd like us to go back a bit because, again, I'm speaking as a fan.
Sure.
As a patriotic fan.
Sure.
Belize, since we start to watch the race, the the non-sports people, we start to watch the race in the morning.
Sure.
Get up, hot cross bun left over, and that's what we're doing. But I want to talk about the year leading up to the race.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about from the federation standpoint.
Yeah.
Has the federation done anything to assist local riders to improve the possible or the probability that a Belizean wins? For example, have there been any conferences? Because as far as I understand now, it's a science. This is a science as to how to get it out. Has there been anything by the federation to try to, and I don't care what you say, that the Cycling Federation of Belize, that something must have been done, I hope, to support local riders to increase the probability?
We haven't done anything in that manner as pertaining to the training of the athletes. But what we have done is that...
or education of the athletes.
No, education of the athlete. Most of the team managers in this aspect of the cycling, whenever the race is finished, they watch on the tactics or the training plan for their team. And what the federation tries to do is that leading up to cross country, we watch the type of races that we carry out. And in this manner, the athletes train towards certain event so that at the time cross country comes around, they're peaking at that level. Cycling is what you actually want from cycling. If somebody has to call you every morning to go train, it's not something that you want. So when race day come, you can't expect 100. If you want to perform good, you have to want it for yourself. You have to be eager for it, you know. And that's some of the thing that the guys, I wouldn't say lacking. It's just the era has changed a bit from the older generation. The older generation, the athletes who used to get up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and you have a mass of 50, 60 guys riding. Now the era has changed that you only have team. This is a ride that 6 of us is going to Central Farm or we're going to Georgeville. It's not the masses, and this is where it becomes different for cycling in Belize. That it's not a full, complete brotherhood. And this is why the federation changed the system to have foreigners on local team to try and bring back the brotherhood that now we have to compete for the locals together instead of...
Let me interject quickly because I find that to be very interesting. While yes, that is the explanation you are giving, I think from the perspective of those of us who are on the outside, we don't necessarily see it as the foreigners coming in to kind of promote brotherhood. It seems as if though when the foreigners come in, the impression is that it's more divisive than it is.
No, it's not the foreigners create the brotherhood. What the federation does is that we remove the foreigners to come and participate on local team so that the local team could create some kind of family love, right?
Within the local team or with other local teams?
No, within the local team and other local team. Like for example, if a foreigner is down the road and me and you sits in a peloton, you control one team, I control one team. We then decide amongst ourselves to work together to get the foreigner. However, if a foreigner is on local team, the situation change. Because if that foreigner goes down the road, the local team guys, what will he do? He will say, my guys is up the road, but it's a foreigner, so he will not chase, right? So this is the reason why we remove the foreigner from the local team. And also, when you compete internationally, who are you taking? You're taking local riders. So they has to be on par to compete.
I think there's a place for foreigners, and I love the fact that they're in the race because for me, you beat especially a Guatemalan, and I am good until Easter Monday.
Yeah.
But I think we're using them only in the race. Do you think that there would be some benefit in bringing in a few non-nationals, international personnel, to do some training on, how do you, the height of your seat, how do you train, how do you nutrition? And is that something that we will be looking forward to in the future, possibly, from the Federation?
Yes. We look forward to it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. There's another thing I want you to help us with.
Sure.
Which is, you don't realize, I started off from the days when you just rode by yourself. No, you told us that they're teams.
Teams.
Explain to us what the makeup of a team is. There's a pacer and I don't know how it
see, back in the days is that it was glory for everyone. However, it changed. You ride for a certain team, you have a captain, you have the lieutenant, and then you have the work guys. While you go out and train, you will know who is the top guy and who is the second guy on your team. Whenever the race is being ridden, for example, if you have a team of 7, you have strategic point that each guys will be either the water guy or the guy making the pace at the front.
Water guy?
Yeah, actually has to go back for water. What happens is that you have the echelon of cyclists.
The hierarchies.
The hierarchies.
Okay,
the peloton stays together. Your service vehicle is back of the chief commissary vehicle. It's at the rear. Whenever you raise your hand for service, the vehicle doesn't come directly at the peloton. It comes at the tail of the chief vehicle, which comes a little bit in the peloton. So if you are on the pace, you have to fall back to get water. Now your bacon man won't do that.
That's your
That's
best
not
chance of winning.
Best chance of winning, man won't do that. It's the lower rank guys or your domestique will come back for that water. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's the shitness guy or the weakest guy on your team.
Only the least talent.
No. People make the mistake and are shitting because they don't win. But in order to go back for water and bring back water,
be strong.
you have to be strong. Just that what happens is that me and you might be on the same level of cycling, but whenever it comes to the last 5 miles, I am a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I will have the chance for the team to go and win, while you will have your role, and later on in the previous following year, maybe you step in that new plate.
Forgive me for asking this question, and I'm glad that you're on the couch with us this morning because I could throw certain things at you for want of clarity, right? You have a team. The team has its specific dynamics, how they work with each other and what have you. You have a foreigner on that team. That foreigner takes the lead, and you happen to be second or third in the chase towards the finish line. I think I've noticed that some riders fall back and allow the foreigner to go ahead. But if you and I are on the same team, for instance, you're American and Belizean, we're both on the same team, and he's a cyclist from another team, you and I belong to the same one, right? You take the lead, I'm in third place, but I can chase him long enough to catch up with you. Why would I not then try to outpace you to the finish line as opposed to allowing you to go ahead? I think I'm asking that because I think a lot of Belizeans feel slighted when that happens.
Well, the beauty of it is, the realistic of it is that if me and you are on the same team, I'm a foreigner up the road. He decides to chase, automatically you have the ability to win. And then the chance of him placing first becomes difficult because if you don't catch the foreigner and you're sitting who is a foreigner teammate, he will end up being third. But psychologically, he's automatically thinking, if me and you come together, I will beat you anyway if I don't chase. So the foreigner can go along the road because at the end of the day, Belize, who passed the lines first? That's what some of the cyclists thinks. Who passed the line first? The foreigner go away with the victory, but in Belize, who passed the line first?
Yeah, but Belizeans, so the many of us who are fans of the sport,
fans.
Look, even if the Guatemalan belongs to the same team that I'm riding with, I think I owe it to my Belizeans to try to win that thing for Belize.
Yeah, but what happened? Say, me and you riding for the same team. The foreigner goes up the road. We catch the foreigner because it's Belize, and he win. You know what your sponsor will say? Because it's not my team win, it's another team win. why you chase down the man for, right? And that, in effect, might hurt your budget for the following year.
So you're saying that the sponsors might be unpatriotic?
Not unpatriotic.
Tick that.
Not unpatriotic. Sponsor
Well,
to have their name to be winners.
What about their nationality being winners?
No, it's not.
They don't care about that?
No, it's not they don't care. But if I am sponsoring you, the obligation is for you to win.
Yeah.
The obligation is for you to win. No, if not,
It's a fair
no, if but nor maybe.
expectation. Yeah.
I'm sure they want the best person to win, but I'm sure they would not.
They want the best person for their team.
Wow, that's a hard pill to swallow.
No, it's not a hard bill to swallow. I mean, if you're in any kind of event and you have a family member racing somebody outside that family, and the person decide, I believe this guy work harder than me, and you decide to freewheel and somebody else beat you, when you go home, what you freewheel for?
I understand the analogy. The difference is that we're dealing with the Belizean animal, and the Belizean animal thirsts to say that a Belizean wears the garland at the end of that race.
Well,
But let's be reasonable and fair.
I would give you a little details on that. If that is a Belizean animal, we can look forward to something that the Belizean animal contributes so that we have a national team for Belize representing us in the cross country. And then that scenario, you can play that scenario
Let me
out a
throw
bit.
this at you, right? I'll piggyback from what he's saying for one, and then I'll build my case after that.
Sure.
We have to be fair and reasonable that if we're opening up the race to any other outside rider, that there's a possibility that that individual can win the race.
Yes, point blank.
Point blank.
Yeah.
No, I say that to say this. The race is Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, is it?
6 o'clock it starts at Lessons directly.
Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
I am invited to a house party on the night of Good Friday.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, perhaps one or two of those Belizean cyclists will be there drinking.
Yeah.
And they'll probably leave with a young lady at the end of the night and then expect to win the race Saturday morning. Whereas the outside rider has more of a sense of discipline, or it would be perceived that that outside rider comes with a goal and he is steadfast in carrying out that goal.
Yes.
So that if he has to go to bed by 7,
He's there.
to wake up fresh and ready to ride Saturday morning at 6, that's what he'll do. The Belizeans seem to not have that sense of drive or discipline. They will be out frolicking and doing everything what a young boy they do, and then expect to go ride hard Saturday and come in first.
I would differ a bit. The Belizean that has the chance to win the event, you won't have that Belizean out at no party. Now, the workers, different, you might have two of them out at that party. The Belizean that has been training for this event, he won't make that slip up. And also the managers of the team will not allow the bacon man or the lieutenant to be out after hours.
No drinking, no womanizing.
No, none. After 6 months or 3 months of hard work. This event is a one-day event. If you lose the focus at the appointed hour, you lose your event. So these guys won't do that.
I want to go back. It's a male perceptive sport. I mean, when you think about cycling, although female cycling is making its own legs up, you're really thinking about the men who are going to be riding on Saturday. But it also comes with a lot of ego. I think it has more ego than basketball or any other sport in Belize. You listen to cyclists speak, and it's a lot of ego.
It's bragging rights.
It's bragging rights, it's bravado at its Belizean best.
Yes.
But it also comes at a disbenefit. Because you can possibly become a national hero and become a superstar overnight, and that does wonderful things for your social life.
Yeah.
It also puts itself in the race. It also disqualifies a lot of people who were on the upward path. I want you to talk to us about riders who find themselves caught by their ego And we saw, I think it was Froggy, there was a gentleman who was boasting before the race and didn't place afterwards. We've heard the names of people like Marlon Castillo, who were looking to be the next Lance Armstrong and just fell off the...
It's not really fell off the grid, an ego. It's a life in general, life cycle. Cycling is a very demanding sport in this country. In the whole world, it's very demanding. If you want to be performing at your best, you need at least 4 to 5 hours riding bicycle. And if you per day, and if you have kids, and you have to provide for these kids, what you choose, cycling or life?
I'm glad you bring that up. Look, when I look at the overall scheme of things, right? You have a cyclist, an athlete who perhaps cannot afford the bike that he rides on. That bike is owned by a particular individual or company
or
team, right? Then that individual has what we would call a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That person has to go and work immediately after training for however many hours he rides per day every morning. He then has to go to work and then come back home to family life if that were the case, right?
That's right.
Versus someone else out there who may not necessarily be classified as a professional or pro-continental, as you call it, but invests more time doing just that, just riding.
Well,
so then what are the odds of that individual going into the race?
No, let me shed some clarity to it now. Not all international competitors just ride bicycle. All these guys from North America, Chris Harkey, all of them have a working job. It just depends on the type of the job you have. Some international riders, they have job pertaining to something close to sports. So that gives them a little bit leverage to train and then come in a little bit later, whatever. However, here in Belize, the limitations for that type of job is not there. So we find ourselves training and then you have to come to work. And that's life. I did it in the past. We used to get up at 3 o'clock and ride bicycle. Charles Lewis, Michael Lewis, Dwayne Arnold had his own business. They did it. So that type of excuse for training and being ready, it's not an excuse on my part. Because if the older generation can do it and compete with the foreigners, the younger generation at this time
but
can do the
shouldn't
same
the
thing.
sport be progressive, as with any other interest that you're looking to move it forward? So that, for instance, if that were the way how you were able to do it 10, 15 years ago, for argument's sake, if we're looking at the younger riders coming behind, right, wouldn't you want to make it easier for them so that the chances of them becoming professional or a different subclass of athlete, closest to professional, that takes precedence, that takes the lead?
That should take the lead. But it all depends on what you want. Because back then, that's what we wanted. Now, the younger generation is competing against a lot of things. You have social media, you have technology. In our time, we didn't even have cell phone. So when you come home from school, the next best, if you don't have any homework, you take your bike, you go and ride at the truck, get in some leg work. Now, the younger generation, you come home from school, you got Facebook, you have all this type of social media. And you know, the minute you pick up any electronics, time fly by just like that.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't have these things to compete against. So it's like you live in a village. When you live in a village and you catch your bus and go up, you're there. So you have time to do what you want to do, but now you have too much things on hand.
All these distractions.
I will just put something out to you. In our time, we used to have morning speed rides on Tuesdays and Thursdays. These was generated by the athletes themselves, just on an ego base. Today we go ride hard, I want to beat you or you want to beat me. So we compete. No. If you go out there now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if there is not a race, there is no one competing to ride hard on their own. So the time has changed a bit. We used to organize these ourselves, amongst ourselves.
Well, I think that when you face that challenge as a federation, it means that your strategy needs to be reassessed.
Yes,
because
that's right.
if you know, you clearly have identified what one of your challenges are.
Yeah.
But, I think that's something you guys have to work about. But I want to go back to as a fan again, because 90% of people watching out there, 99% of them are super fans.
Yeah.
Coverage. You spoke about the way technology is right now, and that challenge. But what can we look forward in terms of coverage? I have to say, as I told you already, that I was not impressed last year with the quality of the coverage.
Yeah.
I know we have drones now. I mean, there's animation where we can actually have more visuals. I think the commentating has gotten significantly better.
Yeah.
But the actual visual coverage, which is something that actually draws people in as well.
Yeah.
What can we look forward to in terms of improved coverage this year?
That's something we have to look into. This type of coverage is very costly. And that's something with the media. You have to, well, it's not the federation. The federation cannot.
I want to answer.
It's a partnership, but it's a very expensive venture.
Yeah.
The federation, I can't say much for the full televised for that because it takes time to get these things done. When the Tour de France originally started, it was captured at every still position until years of years they start get sponsors, and then it was fully televised. And now with the age of technology and the sponsors, it's fully televised. So in the aspects of drone, whenever the drone does, you have to get the permission from the civil aviation and all these type of stuff. Right?
You have a year to do it.
Let me put this in there as someone who is in the media and is in the know to an extent.
Yeah.
You're looking at infrastructure first of all. When I say infrastructure, you have to have the technology to be able to carry a broadcast all the way through.
Yeah.
For the average viewer who sits at home, may not be out there at the start of the race, but is interested in following the race or the progress of the race, they want to do so on their television in 2018. It was fine to have been doing that in 1993 as a radio race. In 2018, we want to see the finish live. We want to see certain aspects of the progress of the race covered live. And at the end of the day, some of the other media houses don't have the capital to invest in that kind of infrastructure.
That is right.
So that when Channel 5, for instance, provided the kind of coverage that the Cycling Federation received with the Chapter 5 and all of the flashiness on the TV, that is unrivaled because the